I heard the sound before I felt the pain, a sickening crack, my head snapping back, and the coppery flood of blood filling my mouth. My dad's face hovered inches from mine, close enough to see every pore, every twitch of his jaw. "You think you get to keep your paycheck when your sister needs it?" he snarled, his breath a mix of coffee and cigarettes. My knees gave out. My hand shot to my mouth, warm blood leaking between my fingers. The gap was instant, my front tooth was gone. I wanted to tell him I'd already paid half Melissa's rent, bought her groceries, and covered her phone bill. But my mom cut in first, her voice sharp and almost delighted. "Parasites should learn to obey," she said, scanning me like I was something stuck to her shoe. Melissa sat on the couch, phone in hand, barely glancing up. "Don't get blood on the floor," she muttered. "It's gross." The pounding in my skull drowned out everything until my dad's voice sliced through again. "You'll transfer your whole salary tonight, or I'll make sure you can't work at all." Melissa smirked without looking up. "She's right, Mom. You can't let parasites think they have rights." They laughed together while my blood spattered the white tile. I staggered to the sink for a paper towel, but my mom yanked the roll away. "That's for guests," she said flatly. I found a rag under the counter, sour with mildew and grease. The metallic taste in my mouth made me gag. "You think I'm kidding?" my dad growled, stepping closer. His shadow swallowed mine. "I'll call your boss and say you've been stealing. See how long you keep that job." Melissa chuckled. "And tell him she's unstable. No one hires a drama queen." I wiped my mouth, stood tall despite the trembling, and met his eyes. "You'll regret this." His smirk thinned, vein throbbing in his temple. "You're already regretting it," he said, tapping his tooth in mockery. My mom chuckled, shaking her head like I'd just refused to eat my vegetables. "You've always thought you were smarter than us," she said, "but you're nothing without family. Remember that." Melissa finally put her phone down. "Let's make this easy. Give me your banking password. I'll transfer it myself." I stared at her, the sheer audacity almost laughable. "You've lost your mind." Her eyes went cold. "No, you've lost your place in this family. Keep talking and it gets worse." I left the kitchen slowly, holding my jaw. My dad's voice followed me. "Don't be late with that transfer." Their laughter trailed me down the hall, each note pressing into my spine. In my bedroom, I locked the door and sank to the floor. The mirror on my dresser caught my reflection, swollen lip, missing tooth, eyes burning. I touched the gap in my mouth and felt something settle in me. Not pain, not fear, something sharper. 4 years, they'd taken my money, my time, my dignity and called it family duty. 4 years, I'd believed that if I gave enough, they'd see my worth. But tonight, with my tooth shattered on their kitchen tile, I finally understood. They'd never stop unless I made them. And I wasn't going to scream or throw punches. I was going to make them choke on something bigger, something they couldn't spit out. I picked up my phone, opened a blank note, and began typing. My hands shook, but not from fear this time. I didn't sleep. The throbbing in my jaw kept rhythm with the ideas forming in my head. Every insult, every humiliation they'd ever thrown at me, fuel for the fire. By morning, the pain in my mouth was background noise compared to the sharp, electric focus in my mind. In the kitchen, my dad sat with his coffee. Melissa scrolled her phone. My mom flipped eggs like nothing had happened. "Well," my dad said without looking up, "transfer go through yet?" I didn't answer. I set my bag on the counter, grabbed my keys, and walked toward the door. "You're not leaving without paying up," he barked. I turned, meeting his eyes. "You'll get what's coming." He laughed. My mom smirked. She's finally learning to threaten like family. I drove to work, but not to clock in. I knew the place well, where the files were, who talked to whom, who owed favors. One person in particular owed me more than one. 3 years ago, I'd covered for Trent when he botched a huge client order, saving his job. He'd never forgotten. When I told him what happened, his eyes went wide. "That's insane, Anne. I think I can help." He leaned in. "You know that project you've been working on, the one you've kept quiet?" I nodded. It's good, real good, and if you want to make it worth something, we can lock your name on it so they can't touch it. He was right. That system I'd built for our biggest client could be worth more than my entire salary, and for the first time, I knew exactly who it wouldn't be worth a dime to. If my parents ever caught wind of it, they'd bleed it dry, so instead of letting it become company property, I filed the intellectual rights under my name that very afternoon, locked tight, far from their reach. That was step 1. Step 2 was personal. I started digging. Every time they bragged about their spotless image, I smiled. I knew better. I had the receipts, literal receipts, along with emails, screenshots, and photos, unpaid debts they forgot to mention, charity events they lied about donating to, Melissa's little habit of maxing out other people's credit cards and calling it borrowing. All I had to do was connect the dots. At home, they thought my silence meant fear. That made them bold. Melissa would wave new shopping bags in my face. This is what your money's for. My mom would work my empty balance into casual conversation. My dad would pat my shoulder and murmur, better get used to it, Parasite. I played along. I even sent them small transfers, just enough to keep them sure I was still under their thumb. Meanwhile, I was building something they couldn't see. By the 3rd week, the plan was complete. Exposing them outright would be too easy. I wanted to take the one thing they valued more than my money, control. I wanted them to watch as every door they thought they owned slammed shut. Melissa went first. She had an exclusive fashion event coming up, her supposed golden ticket to a modeling contract. She'd been bragging about it non-stop. I made one phone call, not to cancel it. No, I wanted her to go. I wanted her to arrive and see exactly what I'd arranged. Next, my parents. They were hosting a dinner for the local business association, their proof they were pillars of the community. It was the perfect stage, because by that night, the people they most wanted to impress would be holding their own words, their own lies, in their own hands. That morning, I caught my reflection. Same missing tooth, but the eyes staring back weren't the girl who'd taken their blows. They belonged to someone who'd stopped obeying, someone they were about to regret underestimating. The night of the dinner, the house reeked of expensive catering and desperation. My mom wore pearls, my dad, a suit he couldn't afford. Melissa floated in a designer dress like she was born to it. They didn't even look at me as I came down the stairs. You're not invited, my mom said. I smiled. I wouldn't miss it for the world. My dad's jaw tightened, but he let it go. They thought I'd come to grovel, to play nice. That was the beauty of it. By the time guests arrived, the dining room glittered, polished silverware, crystal glasses lined like soldiers. I lingered at the edges, silent, watching the performance. My dad's handshakes were practiced, my mom's compliments rehearsed. Melissa live-streamed her dress to her followers. Then I saw him, Mr. Keller, president of the association, the man whose approval my dad had chased for years. In his hand was a thick, sealed envelope, the one I'd sent 2 days earlier. Inside, unpaid contractor bills, proof of charity money funneled into Melissa's personal account, audio of them bragging about manipulating neighbors. All of it. For extra flavor, I'd included a neat little quote from my mom in the envelope: parasites should learn to obey. Mr. Keller didn't go to them right away. He waited, letting the room fill with every name that mattered. Only then did he walk over, envelope in hand. I watched my dad's face shift smug to stone in a heartbeat. My mom leaned in, pearls trembling as her eyes scanned the papers. Melissa froze mid-laugh, glancing between them. The air changed, conversations thinned to whispers, smiles vanished, replaced by tight frowns. One woman actually stepped back from my mom like she'd touched something dirty. My dad tried to laugh it off. Keller didn't let him. Your name doesn't belong on our board, Tom. Not after this. Before they could start looking for me, I slipped out the side door, crossing to the cafe where Trent waited. From our window seat, we had the perfect view. 20 minutes later, the exits began. Guests left in small knots, avoiding eye contact. Melissa came out first, gripping her phone like it was a lifeline. Her face was red and blotchy, The exclusive fashion event she'd been banking on, suddenly full, no exceptions, not even for influencers, especially not ones with fresh credit fraud whispers attached to their name. Then my parents appeared. My dad's tie hung loose, his eyes scanning the street for someone, anyone, to save him. My mom's lipstick was smudged. The pearls were gone. They stood together on the sidewalk, but the crowd had left them behind. For the first time, they weren't the center of anything. They were just no one. I stepped outside, my heels clicking on the pavement. My mom's mouth opened, but no words came. My dad's voice cracked. You. I held up my phone. On the screen, a photo of my broken tooth from the night he'd knocked it out. Below it, one line, "This is where it started." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I just looked at them the way they'd always looked at me, like they weren't worth the air they took up, and walked past. My shoulder brushed Melissa's just enough to make her flinch. By the time I turned the corner, I heard my mom hissing at my dad, her tone sharp and desperate. It didn't matter. Their perfect little empire had cracked, and nothing would put it back together. They'd built their lives on control. Now they had none. And every time they thought about how it happened, they'd remember the night they laughed in my face and how the parasite they thought they owned made them choke on their own pride.